guys, recovering from chronic fatigue syndrome has definitely been a roller coaster, and during my decade-long experience with this, along the way, I have definitely collected my share of embarrassing moments. But here's the thing. Over the years, I have learned to just laugh at them. Because of course, when you're sick, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Nothing is your fault. But sometimes in the moment, and when we look back on these things, they can feel like embarrassing and even shameful things. Heavy things that we're carrying around with us, potentially for the rest of our life. So there is actually benefit and therapeutic value in taking some time to think about some of these moments from your past and reframe them, unpack them a bit, and find a new way of looking at them. And when you do this, you change them from being this heavy, shameful thing that you're carrying around, and you just turn it into this funny story of something that happened in your past. And I think by speaking them aloud and laughing at them ourselves, we just really take away all of the power from them. So in this video, I'm going to share some of my most embarrassing moments with you and invite you to think about some of these moments that you might have, that you might also be carrying with you, and see if you can't refrain them and turn them into just a funny story from your life as well. It's actually a form of brain retraining, but it doesn't feel like work at all, and we get to laugh while we're doing it. So I'm going to share with you right now, starting with the more milder embarrassing stories and build up to the most embarrassing ones that I have. So this is your official TMI warning. These get worse as they go. All right, let's do this. First thing that I was often really embarrassed about during my CFS recovery journey was how incredibly sexy I looked, or not sexy, I looked while I was sleeping. Itchy nose. Okay, so there's never been a point in my life, I suspect, where I ever looked really good while asleep, but because I had so many problems with sleep, with CFS, that I had to start doing all these extra things to help ensure I got a good night's sleep. My motto was sleep at all costs. So whatever I had to do, didn't matter. Sleep was number one. So it started with some simple things like wearing an eye mask to keep the light out and wearing earplugs to keep the sound out, which on the surface, not terrible. I mean, it's already not really a great look. But, us women are led to believe by the movies and TV that we should sleep with our hair softly flowing and makeup on and just a peaceful little smile on our face, and the people who love us in our lives just glance upon us and think, wow, look at this sleeping beauty. This was not me. So eye mask, earplugs, and then I also was grinding my teeth and getting headaches. So I had to wear a mouth guard, sort of like a hockey player. So you're starting to get a bigger visual. So already this is not great. But then to top it off, I started having these really weird problems with my hands. Please tell me in the comments if you have ever had this, because I have never heard anybody tell me that they go through this. But so, as you're falling asleep, you can have, I think they call it hypnic jerk, if I've got that right, but you start to like muscles twitch and spasm just as your body relaxes, which is normal, fine, no big deal. But I started getting it really bad, specifically just in my fingers and my hands. So I'd be laying there, I'd be almost asleep, and then my hand would flop. And it would wake me up. And it might take me another half an hour to fall asleep. And then as I'm just about to fall asleep again, it would go again, and it would go again. And I could lay there for hours with my own hands keeping me awake. So I had to figure out something to do. I started just trying to like restrain them under the pillow or under my body, but that wasn't working. And then I started wrapping them up with scarves. So I'd wrap one up and tie it up with the scarf and then do the other one. And then that kind of worked, but it's not a fun way to sleep. And it's really hard to get the second one on and tied up once your first one's already on and tied up. But picture that this is one phase of my sexy sleep with the eye mask, earplugs, mouth guard, like wrapped up mummy hands. But then when I realized that wasn't working, I had to find something better. So ultimately what I came to was compression socks on my hands to keep them still, but the fingers still had too much movement. So I knew I needed something inside. So I ordered tennis balls online, and I put a tennis ball in each hand, and then I put the sock over each hand with the tennis ball. And then I would sleep with these sock sort of tennis ball claws. But somehow I'm still married to the same guy. So it seems he's come to love me despite this. Or I like to tell myself maybe because of it. Maybe it's one of my cute little quirks. All right. Number 2 for my embarrassing moments, how I met one of my best friends in the world. Her name is Michelle. We're getting really into the TMI really fast. You've been warned. So our very first meeting, as we're saying hello, nice to meet you. How is your day? I have got my pants pulled down and she is inserting a tube into my bottom side. And while we're chit-chatting, she pumps up my colon full of what feels like a swimming pool's worth of water. And I'm laying there trying not to explode while she asks me about my interests. And then eventually the two of us, again, continued over chit-chat, watch the contents of my colon evacuate through this tube and go through this sort of like viewing board where we dissect everything that just came out of me. This was actually one of the silver linings of having all these health problems, is it broke down my ego so much and just gave me so much humility. And when you meet someone in this way, in such a vulnerable, disgusting context that just feels so outside of what social norms have told us should ever happen, like you should never be in this situation. But you can pretty much instantly start talking about just about anything. Like small talk goes out the window and the real talk starts happening real fast. And she has remained a good friend of mine for so long. She even came when I moved to Southeast Asia and came to visit me in Thailand and just has been an amazing person in my life. And thankfully, when she came to Thailand, she left her hoses and tubes at home. All right, embarrassing thing number 3. How deep into and invested I got into the whole diet dogma. I went down such a rabbit hole of trying to figure out what the perfect diet was, and I really wanted to just fit into one box and have a label and be a part of a team. Like, yay, I'm paleo, I'm vegan, I'm keto, whatever it might be. And admittedly, at times, I might have been a little bit pushy with my way of eating on other people. I know that is the worst. That is the absolute worst. I don't do it now. I'll never do it again. Picture this. At one point, the way I was eating, I was referring to myself as a raw vegan carnivore. I even was a raw vegan for a while. I only ate raw vegan food, and this may be good for other people, I don't know, but I know for me, my hair started coming out in clumps, which can never really be a good sign. So that wasn't for me. But I think the funniest phase that I went through is when I was referring to myself as a raw vegan carnivore. Let me know in the comments what you think that diet looks like. It's been ridiculous. Moral of the story, for me, I don't need to fit in a box. I doubt you need to fit in a box. Don't worry about the labels. Evolution has made us want to be a part of a tribe and want to be like, we're with this group, we're with that group. Just eat what works for you. It doesn't have to fit neatly into any other box, and nobody else needs to know what you're eating because it's probably not the right diet for them. Oh, okay, number 4. Now this one has been a shame one for me for a long time. I've carried around a lot of shame, which is like embarrassments on that spectrum, like 10 times further up. It's embarrassment is like I'm feel a bit silly about what I did, whereas shame is I feel bad about who I am. So this one, I was a bridesmaid in a wedding, and I was still sick. I was a bit better, so I wasn't in my first, year and a half, 2 years where I was completely laid out, but I was still sick. And I knew the only way I could get through it was by drinking. I got completely plastered at this wedding as a bridesmaid, representing the bridal party, and I just really made a fool of myself. And I had realized pretty early on that alcohol, I call it my superpower, because when I would drink, all of my ME/CFS symptoms completely disappeared. I had no idea what was happening, but it's like I was a normal person, just a drunk normal person, but a normal person. So if I were to get through a whole day, like, and as a bridesmaid, you're in pictures, you're all together in the morning at the salon getting your hair done. Like, it's just a full day. So by the nighttime, I was done. There are pictures of me drinking right out of a bottle on the dance floor. Not good. But I didn't get it then, but I understand now that we know so much about what's happening with the autonomic nervous system and our amygdala and those fight or flight system, but the fight assessment tools that we have in our body. And alcohol is a central nervous system depressant, and it shuts down all of that. So all of that fight or flight stuff, my amygdala, my ANS going crazy during the day, once I started drinking, those just calmed down. And I actually was fine. Not recommending using alcohol as a coping mechanism or a way to get through ME/CFS or any kind of condition. It's got its whole host of crap that comes with it. It's poison, drinking poison, never going to be a good thing. And then you might have to be telling this story one day on camera. But over time, I've forgiven myself. I was doing the best I could at the time with what I had. And I don't even talk to any of those people anymore. So something tells me they're not losing any sleep over it either. All right, number 5. While we're on the topic of substance use or substance misuse, this is not painting a great picture of me, but as I mentioned, I had massive problems sleeping when I had ME/CFS. Sleep at all costs was the motto. So at times I did take over-the-counter and sometimes prescription sleep medication. Zero regrets there. It's what I needed to do at the time. However, that being said, maybe I should have stayed away from one called Ambien. I don't know if you've ever taken Ambien before or if you've had this experience, but if you type into the Google search bar, crazy shit I did on, it will auto-populate with the word Ambien. There is just so much out there. There's entire Facebook groups devoted to this. People using it as like a murder defense in trials because they were on Ambien. So one time I woke up in the morning and I had a black eye. I had been alone. I had no idea how I had gotten it. I don't know. I have theories, but I don't know. Because the level of blackout I get with Ambien, if I stay up, if you take it as you should and you just go straight to bed, you're fine. But sometimes I feel it kicking in and I'd kind of want to like push through for whatever reason. Kind of gives you a little bit of like a happy high feeling, a little bit. And when you've been sick all day, it's like, oh, I'm finally feeling all right. Maybe I'll just sit here for a few minutes longer. And that is when the crazy starts. I had someone tell me that she cut bangs, woke up in the morning with bangs. She's like, I hate bangs. I don't even remember cutting them. I one time sent messages to people at work at like midnight. They were gibberish, not fully formed sentences. Things weren't spelt properly. Things like, my flying toaster needs a sock, like just gibberish. Like, try and explain that one. Like, just really embarrassing. That's crossing over into the shameful category. I called my boyfriend, my now husband, Jeffrey, once and told him I was having a party, and I told him all these details. I was at home by myself, should have been in bed sleeping. I had just pushed through the Ambien, and I don't remember any of it, not even a sliver. It's like my body's been possessed. It's like it happened to somebody else. No clue. I was also sort of like my own secret Santa, because apparently I would go online and order myself things, and then things would appear in the mail, and I have no idea where they came from, but my name's on them and I clearly ordered them. So it took me quite a while longer than it should have to learn from that one. Okay, number 6. And are any of these resonating for anybody? Tell me in the comments if you've had any of these or something similar. Please help me feel a little bit better. Just let me know. It doesn't have to be your top embarrassing thing, but just something. Put something out there. Let's normalize this. Take the power away from these moments. Number 6 is what I will call brain fog blunders. Now, again, brain fog is nothing to be embarrassed about, nothing to feel shameful about. But in the moment, it can feel kind of embarrassing. I'm definitely at a point where I just 100% laugh at it. But I just would have such trouble thinking sometimes of words or remembering anything in general. Mostly through my ME/CFS, it wasn't too bad with brain fog, thankfully. But I went through a period, a phase that I call my Post-it note phase, because every time I got up, I had to write on a Post-it note why I was getting up and then just carry it with me, because I would absolutely not remember once I got up, why I got up, what I was supposed to do when I got there. So it was pretty bad. And I would try and think of things. Like, I remember asking my husband for the remote for the TV, and I think I called it a channel wand. And it's just so strange what's happening in your brain. And then one time I was wanting something, talking about the fridge for some reason, and I remember calling it a food closet. So it's just really bizarre, and it really makes me laugh now. At the time, I did not think it was funny. It was frustrating as fuck. But now I'm like, okay, this kind of cracks me up. Do you have any of these? Let me know in the comments. What are some of your brain fog blunders? Okay, number 7. Number 7 is another one about sleep. I had a lot of embarrassment around sleep. So not only did I have this get up that I told you about before, but also I had a lot of trouble sleeping in the same bed as my husband. And I had a lot of embarrassment and even I'd say shame around that. I think we've been socialized to believe that if you're not sleeping in the same bed, there's something wrong with your marriage. Like what's happening there? Like you guys are broken. But I was sleep at all costs. So, but since I didn't want to sleep in another room, and because what would that mean about our relationship? That's just wrong. I got this inflatable mattress and I put it on the floor beside our bed as a place for me to sort of escape to if I was having a rough night sleeping. So if Jeffrey's moving around too much or snoring, I don't have to go far because we did have another room, but by the time I got there, I was wide awake and I was not falling back asleep. So I just roll onto the floor and onto this air mattress, which doesn't sound so bad, but very quickly the air mattress became my full-time bed because every night I'd go to bed and I'd think, do I want to play Russian roulette with will I fall asleep, will I not? Or do I just go to this safe space? And oddly, my biggest embarrassment was around the person who came to clean our apartment once a week. And she had to make the 2 beds. They both had their own separate bedding. And I'd always have these things. She didn't speak English very well. Otherwise, I would have explained it. Like, she's like, who makes who sleep on the floor? Like, all the thoughts she must have been having about why that was happening. Yeah, it was very embarrassing for me for a long time. And I don't know if I've ever told anybody that. Eventually, I did end up moving to the spare bedroom, and it took a long time for my husband and I to figure out a solution. For a while, he was on the hide-a-bed in the living room when we were in a smaller place, and it's just been kind of a mess. But if you do have this problem and you happen to be able to afford to make this change, what we have finally found that works is, 1, admitting the situation is happening. I'm not a good sleeper. We are going to have to make some accommodations. Otherwise, we're both going to go crazy. He can't relax because he's afraid to move, and I just am never getting a good night's sleep. So what we got is 2 smaller beds, like the same mattress, the same bed frame, the same bedding, the same everything, just 2 matching sets. And then we have them in our bedroom side by side, and we just have a gap of a couple inches between them. So at first glance, it sort of just looks like a big king-size bed, but just having that gap in between and us each having our own blankets, and there's no mattress in the world where I can't feel the movement. I've tried them all. So this one, there's no movement. There's no way I can feel it. And now finally we're good. All right. Number 8. I was on a health retreat in Arizona for a month near the border of Mexico in this little hippie place, very, natural, serene, and walk around with no shoes on and no makeup and eat pine cones and just really embrace nature. Someone really did eat pine cones. It didn't go well. But my embarrassing moment from this is that we had 1-hour meditation classes every morning in this little temple that was situated on what was supposed to be this, I don't know, somehow spiritual, physical place on the earth. And it's just this whole thing. We were given a mantra. It was a Vedic meditation. So you're supposed to go in, we all in a group go in, and then we sit for an hour, and we silently repeat our mantra. And not one of those meditation classes did I meditate, because the meditation teacher was this Adonis who I was single at the time, just to throw that out there. I could not concentrate. And it may not sound that bad, but you have to picture like an hour every day where I'm not meditating, and I'm in my 30s already, but I'm like a schoolgirl, full on losing my mind, crush, never even really talk to him. And instead of meditating, I would just be like thinking about him, and then I would like open my eyes and sneak peeks at him. And sometimes he would catch me, and he knew. And I think I was about 10 years older than him too. It's just nothing happened. It never went beyond me making a fool of myself, drooling over him in meditation every day for a month. But I look back on this one and I still laugh at myself. Okay, number 9, ramping things up. I have never said this to anyone in person, on video, anywhere in my life. First time saying this out loud. I peed my pants in an elevator. I was a 30-something-year-old grown woman and fully peed my pants in the elevator. Not just like a little bit, not just a little kind of squirt. No, this was like a small child who had just had an accident. While I was living with ME/CFS, I used to get all of these chronic recurring infections like UTIs and yeast infections just all of the time. And I had a UTI and I had been out, I don't remember, running some errands or something, and I could feel it. You know, you get these sudden urges to urinate that are so strong. It feels like there's no way you can fight them, but usually you can, right? But it feels like you can't. But I made it. I got home, into the building, into the elevator, and something about the safety of those doors closing, whew, it went. Like, it was bad. There was even, if I'm remembering correctly, a little bit of a puddle on the floor. I was mortified. The shame that swept through my body. Yes. So I quickly walked to my apartment, got off my clothes, rinsed myself off. I had to go back, I think, and clean up the elevator and vowed to never think of it or speak of it again. But learning to laugh at it, taking the power away from it. We get sick. Shit happens. Pee happens. Life happens. That happened. All right. Number 10. This one was around exercise, and I was starting to feel a little bit better, so I signed up for what was the easiest class I could find, and it was a Tai Chi class at a community center for seniors, but they let me join. So I'm, around 30 years old. Everyone else some of them are looking like they're in their 90s. Very impressive. And very gentle, just slow, very, the simplest version of Tai Chi, the easiest, most gentle. And I only lasted, 5 or 10 minutes. And then I just had to grab my stuff and I had to leave. And you might be thinking, how is this more embarrassing than the pee story or the other stories? But I had been such an exercise addict and I had so much ego around my exercise, and so much of my identity had been formed around being this strong person. I was running 10 kilometers every morning before work and then working out at the end of the day at the gym. Sometimes I'd go to the gym for 2 to 3 hours in one stretch. Little guy's digging a hole. My husband let him bring in his stick he found this morning that he wrestled some dog for, named Enzo. Anyways. So yes, for me, it felt really embarrassing in that moment it was like a lot of humble pie to just I can't keep up with any of you and I've got to pack up and I've got to go. I understand now what was happening. Not embarrassed anymore. Now it's just a funny story. Okay, 2 more. And the last one, I don't think I've ever told anyone either. It's worse than the peeing my pants one. Okay, but second last was actually when I was almost recovered and I decided I wanted to start sharing my story on social media. And I started an Instagram account and I had no idea what I was doing. And I had 7 followers who were my family and friends. And I'd put these posts up. They're still there. You can scroll back. You have to scroll back probably hundreds of posts, but I just was fumbling around and in this void of silence because no one was seeing them anyways. And it was the same thing with my YouTube channel. I started making videos. I was terrified. Oh my goodness. And I'd put them up and I was so embarrassed. I couldn't even watch myself. Oh, it was so horrible. So hard to watch myself. For about 6 months, just the thought of my YouTube channel made me want to crawl in my closet and never come out. It was just really embarrassing for me to be speaking publicly about this. And who do I think I am to start a YouTube channel and put videos out? My family's seeing this, my friends are seeing this. And of course I wasn't very good at it. My first videos, I had terrible makeup. I didn't have good equipment and just, really awkward, unnatural things. And I was trying to do things to make it interesting. In one video, I got up and started doing the robot. I feel much better about it now, but that was a big thing of embarrassment for me for quite a few months. All right. Number 12. I was at a healing center that had a whole bunch of detox protocols. And one of them that some of them were things that they did sort of for you, and some of them were things, just a checklist of things that you were supposed to do yourself. Like you were supposed to like urinate on these pH strips every day to see your urine's pH, which I kind of think is BS. I think, isn't it always acidic? I don't know. Mine was never in the zone they were telling me it was supposed to be. But another one of the things that I was supposed to do every day, and they gave me a kit, was to give myself an enema. Now, I don't know if you've ever given yourself an enema. I shared my colon hydrotherapy story before, which is already a lesson in humility, but at least you don't have to do anything. This one's all you. You got to sort all the equipment and all the stuff and do all the insertions and bags, and it's a whole thing. So this place that I was doing it at, it was like a lower cost place. So you didn't have your own bathroom. So you had shared bathrooms. Each had their own lock. So it was like a bunch of individual bathrooms with a door that locked. So you go in, so at least you're in there by yourself, but it wasn't in your own, hotel room or something that fancy. So I'm doing my first ever enema at this place. I go into the bathroom and like, it's not like they give you a table or a bed. You're just in the bathroom and you just lay on the floor of the bathroom. It's just, oh my goodness, if I could go back. I don't know. Have you ever found enemas to be helpful? They were a thing back when I first got sick, and everyone told you had to do this stuff. I'm no longer sure it's all that helpful. But even just privately, how embarrassing it was laying on this bathroom floor of this place I'd never been, inserting tubes into my bottom and trying to do all the stuff. But the lock on the door was broken. So while I was laying on the floor, naked from the waist down, tubes coming out of where, a cleaning person walked in. I don't know who was more embarrassed. It might have been her. I'm pretty sure it was me, but it was pretty close. If she has a video of most embarrassing moments, I think there's a pretty good chance that she's telling this story on her channel as well. So there you have it. I cannot believe the stuff that I say on video on the internet, and I have one of the most Googleable names on the planet. Nobody else online has my exact name, Raelan Agle. I'm the only one. So when potential employers look me up, this is what they see. And today's channel member shout out is to Nico Struber. Nico, aren't you so glad you joined the channel so that you could be mentioned right after this poop story? Thank you so much for joining, Nico. I really appreciate the support. And for those of you watching, I really hope you're being brave enough to share something in the comments, because I'm really excited to see what's there. Let's just take the power away from these things. They happened to all of us. Let's talk about it. Let's normalize it. It is what it is. Thank you for taking some time to spend some time with me today. I love getting to hang out with you. It's an honor to be on your phone, in your living room, on your TV, wherever I might happen to be. I'm sending big hugs to you. I hope you got some smiles out of this video, and I hope to see you in this next one.